Then what's this? I put one of the photos I got from the private investigator on the table.
This is Myra, and she suddenly got sick and there was nothing I could do about it. So we went into a hotel. We didn't do anything here.
Then what's this? I took out the second photo as I said this.
For this one, I got sick and...
Then what about this one? Without pausing, I take out the third picture.
This is,
My name is Victoria, and I am 35 years old. I am currently the owner and manager of a certain restaurant. It started out as a small restaurant, and after 10 years, it has grown to become one of the most popular restaurants, and now it has about 15 employees. I married my husband Ted a year ago. My husband, who is 3 years older than me, was originally one of my store's regular customers. My first impression of him was that he's a bastard who'd talk without thinking and gets easily carried away. Later, this first impression would prove to be true, but I had no way of thinking that at the time. My husband visited the restaurant many times, and each time he would try to talk to me. Moreover, he always came to the restaurant just before the last order. This is also the time of the day when I would naturally have more time for conversation if he spoke to me.
You're always working alone until the end. Thanks for your hard work.
I fell in love with these words. It even made me forget about my initial impression of him. To begin with, I had stayed away from love since I was traumatized by my ex-boyfriend's affair. I was afraid of getting hurt again. When my husband asked me to go out with him, and I told him about my past trauma, he was very upset.
I can't believe he would do that to you, Victoria. There is nothing wrong with you. You don't have to drag out that past. I would never let you feel that way, Victoria.
I was so moved by his words that I started dating him. However, despite my worries I had of him, my relationship with my husband was going well. I was running a restaurant, so I didn't have much time for dates, but on the days when I couldn't see him, he would come to my restaurant to eat as a customer. I thought my husband was such a kind man and became more and more infatuated with him. When my husband asked me to marry him a year ago, I was delighted and accepted his proposal. I was happy every day. But that happiness slowly began to crumble after 6 months as a newlywed. 6 months into our new marriage, my husband quit his job and returned home. He resigned suddenly one day without even telling me about it beforehand. He started to say it all on his own while I had no option to even argue about it.
I quit my job to help out at the restaurant.
What? No, my current employees are enough.
That's not true, is it? If I come in as an accountant, Victoria, you can focus in the kitchen, right?
No, I've asked my accountant to take care of the store, so that's not a problem.
Then why don't you fire your accountant and I'll do the accounting?
I've known my accountant since we opened the shop, so he understands what I need to do, and I have no intention of terminating our contract.
What? Even though I'm here?
I was pretty irritated at this point. I loved my husband, but I had no intention of having him involved in the store. My husband had his own work, and I never thought he would get involved with my store, business-wise. He was a salesman, not an accountant. There was no way my husband, who had no expertise in such a field, would be able to handle the accounting field. Anyway, my store will be fine, so why don't you find a new job?
Oh, well, I'll work in the kitchen first then.
Huh? What do you mean the kitchen first then? I've been telling you from the beginning, right? I don't need your help. That tone makes it sound like you're looking down on my shop.
I'm sorry. I was saying things without thinking, you know. I'm really sorry. I just thought it would be wonderful if Victoria and I could become a couple and run a restaurant together. I'm really sorry.
No, that's not possible. In the end, I forcefully ended the discussion that day. However, 2 weeks after this, he was working in the kitchen. Because the girl who was in charge of the kitchen broke her leg and couldn't work. She is also a sommelier and was a really important employee for my restaurant. The doctor's diagnosis that she got was she needed 3 months of recovery. When my husband found out, he took the opportunity to tell me that he would fill in for her. Well, I guess it's better than being unemployed at least. I discussed this with my employees, but they all knew my husband from long ago. They willingly agreed to do so. I agreed to let my husband work in my store on the condition that when the sommelier employee returned to work, he would properly look for a new job of his own. And my husband worked surprisingly well. Perhaps it was because he was a salesman, but he was well received by customers. The regular customers would say, "So you and your husband are finally going to run the business together, huh?" And hearing that, I was thinking to myself that maybe this isn't so bad after all. However, my optimism was quickly shattered. That day was my first day off in 5 days. However, it was the day my accountant was coming over to our place, so I headed to the store to gather the necessary documents. As I entered the store through the back door, an employee hastily looked at me. "Good work." "What? What's wrong?"
Owner, Ted is...
Ted is what?
Please, come here for a minute.
I headed for the hall as the employee told me to. Then, I was shocked. Despite the fact that the restaurant was on a lunch break, a woman whom I've never seen before was enjoying her food in our kitchen. And next to her is my husband, who looks like he's getting carried away. So, I walked up to them. "Good work." My husband turned around surprisingly.
Victoria? Why? You're off today, right?
"Yes, but my accountant is coming over." "Who's this?" "Hi, I'm Myra."
Myra is a colleague of mine from the company I used to work at. She just happened to come by the store today, and I was on my lunch break, but she came all the way here to see me, so, you know, I couldn't just leave her there, could I?
"Do you always do this?"
No way, just this once. Right? Myra, right?
I guess so." "I see. Thank you for always taking care of my husband." "Yes, I do." "Well then, please take your time." Saying that, I went back into the other room.
This isn't his first time, owner. Whenever you're on, you're off.
"Yes, that's what I thought. Does that girl always come?"
This is the 3rd time she came here.
"Thanks for telling me." Judging from Ted being surprised like that, I'm sure Myra wasn't just his colleague. I finished my work with the accountant and started looking for an investigating agency. However, I couldn't find the right one. I searched in between jobs, but none of them seemed to really hit me well. In the meantime, he was probably being with Myra, getting carried away. As I thought that, I got more and more irritated. In the midst of all this, I went on a business trip with the chef in search of a new contract farmer. It was a 1-day trip, but we returned home around 9 p.m. I was probably too tired to say I'm home, so I went inside the house without saying a word. Then I heard some sound. It sounded like my husband was talking to someone on the phone.
I know. Just wait a little longer. I need to be trusted in the kitchen now. Yeah, maybe in a month it'll be fine. It's okay. I'll make it work. Once I'm in accounting, it's all ours. We can spend all the money we want.
Ted is probably talking to Myra on the phone. The reason my husband wanted to do accounting more than necessary was because of embezzlement, huh? What a bastard. This is where my affection for him completely dries out. The only option I have now is to divorce him. Then I made an appointment with the investigation agency, and to my surprise, the president of that agency was a regular customer at my store. So I shamelessly exposed everything to him. Then, with a mysterious look on his face, he agreed to accept my request. The investigation period was 1 week. My husband, who knew nothing about it, never doubted anything was going to happen to him. He was watching TV while humming in front of me. I wish I could do something to him so that he can't hum. My heart was just filled with anger. A week later, the investigation report came back. The result was shockingly what I had thought. I definitely needed to punish Ted for what he has done to me. I decided to take a revenge on him 3 days later on a regular holiday. I invited all the people involved to the store that day. I told my husband that we were going to discuss a new menu at the store. My stupid, simple-minded husband must think he is one of the core members of this store. I could also see that he is in a good mood. Yes, you are the star of the show today. We arrived at the restaurant and waited for the other people to come. The first person to appear was my lawyer I had hired.
Is he the contract farmer?
How stupid can he be? Can't he see how formally dressed my lawyer is with his briefcase? This is my lawyer.
Huh?
As my husband looked confused, another person came in.
What? Mom?
What is it? Calling me out of the blue like this?
Well, let's talk about Victoria's request right away. Victoria demands a divorce from her husband. Huh?
Huh? Ted and his mother, Wendy, overlaps each other.
What do you mean?
You're having an affair, aren't you?
No, I'm not. Of course not.
Then what's this? I put one of the photos I got from the private investigator on the table.
This is Myra, and she suddenly got sick and there was nothing I could do about it, so we went into a hotel. We didn't do anything here.
Then, what's this? I took out the second photo as I said this.
For this one, I got sick and...
Then what about this one? Without pausing, I take out the third picture.
This is,
Oh, that's enough. You don't like this woman, do you? Then why don't you just get a divorce? You don't need a woman like that, who eats all the money away. What? What do you mean about me eating all the money away? Victoria, you approached my son Ted for his money, didn't you? I knew that. This store, that house, the car, everything. Ted is working so hard to make up for the deficit, yet you want to divorce him and take his share of the property, right? You're a despicable woman. Excuse me? What the hell is she saying? Since you're like that, that's why he cheats on you. It can't be helped. I'm for the divorce, but I can't give you anything. From now on, I'll take care of the store, the house, the car, and everything that belonged to you. You will be on your own. I look at my husband. My husband looks away in an obvious way. I see. Oh, well, I guess you're not needed as his wife now. Myra came in through the door. I heard everything from outside. But if it all belongs to Ted, then there's no problem, right? Even if Victoria finds out about our affair.
Myra, let's
see. Let me just organize everything right now. First of all, Wendy, this store, that house, and the car, those 3 are all my properties. Huh? This store is the one I have been working on for the past 10 years. I am the owner. In other words, I manage this shop. I have owned the house and the cars since before I got married to Ted. Therefore, nothing goes to you. Wait, what do you mean? Don't you understand? It means that your own son lied to you. Right, Ted?
I guess I misunderstood a little.
Huh? You said you were going to get the money soon.
Hey, Myra, just get the hint, will you?
No, I know. You wanted to get into accounting because you wanted to embezzle the store's money, right? You've got to be kidding me, seriously. And just in time, the next 2 visitors arrived.
Jane, why?
What in the world is this?
And you too, Chloe, why?
Welcome. I'm Ted's wife.
Wife?
Wife? The two of them widen their eyes and won't move. Ted, you should just give up now. You can't fool them no matter how you try. I have all the data. Then my husband bursted out crying.
I'm sorry.
Seeing my husband like that, my mother-in-law got up and walked out. My mother-in-law was kind to me before we got married, but after we got married, she suddenly became cold. She must have believed Ted's lies as they were. Well, now is not the time to be worrying about Wendy who left. I have to crush my husband. He's crying even though he did everything to himself. What a pathetic scumbag. Jane and Chloe immediately apologized to me. Neither of them knew that Ted was completely married. I had also already investigated that. I apologized to them that my husband was sorry and promised to cooperate with them in sanctioning him at a later date, and had the two go home. And now it was Myra who trembled with anger.
Ted, what do you mean by all of this? You said you wanted to divorce your wife. You said you would marry me if you divorced your wife. And who were those women just now?
Ted then slowly looked up.
There's no way I'd do that for you. Myra, you and the girls from earlier on were there so that I could just have fun and play around. I don't want to marry a stupid girl anyways. I want a really smart girl for my wife.
Excuse me? What are you talking about? You were complaining about your wife a lot. Did you know that, Victoria? We've been dating since before you married Ted.
That's why I said you're really stupid. You're just a tool for me, nothing more.
You're terrible.
Bang! My full swing hit my husband clean on his left cheek. What are you talking about, disrespecting a woman like that? A tool? You've got to be kidding me. Then what are you? What is the point of you being there, huh? You're no more than a tool. Then I came back to my senses. I punched him in front of my lawyer. Quickly, I looked at my lawyer's face, and at that moment, my lawyer turned his face away. Thank you so much for pretending to not see it, even though you saw it.
Everyone, please calm down. We will inform you of the details of the divorce procedure and alimony in a sealed envelope at a later date.
Hearing this, Ted looked relieved at my lawyer's words. I guess he thought that if he could somehow get through this, he could somehow fool me with being flirty with me. So now he's getting carried away, thinking he could go home with me. No, you can't go home with me, okay? Please go back to Myra's place or wherever you like.
The only one I love is you, Victoria. That's why I'm going home with you.
Oh well, do as you please. Hearing this, my husband followed me back home quickly. On the way home, we passed by a neighborhood store and my husband said,
That's right, I'm going to buy your favorite sweets,
and went inside the store. Surely, under normal circumstances, I would be really pleased. However, I am in no state of mind to be fooled by that right now. I went straight home and locked the door. Then when my husband came home 5 minutes later, he couldn't enter the house. And that's because I changed the locks on the door. He seemed to ring the doorbell several times, but I completely ignored all of them. My husband persisted for an hour, but then he disappeared somewhere. About 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. My ex-husband had stubbornly continued to refuse the divorce, but he sank to his knees when my lawyer said, If you divorce in court, a judicial divorce will be entered in your family name, and signed the papers without hesitation. My ex-husband was kicked out of the house without a job and had to rely on his parents for support. And I heard that the two, Jane and Chloe, who had been having an affair without knowing that Ted was married, filed a claim for alimony against him, and Ted's mom, Wendy, had paid the amount in the end. To my surprise, Myra seriously loved Ted, and she then asked him to marry her because she would support him. However, Ted stubbornly refused her proposal. I heard that Myra was so persistent that he violently attacked her and was caught red-handed. Maybe Myra was just an honest, pure girl. She just fell right into Ted's trap. Well, I was also one of them too, so I can't really say anything. By that time, the sommelier who was hospitalized had returned to the restaurant, and the restaurant was able to return to normal operation. But I have had enough of romance. I'm getting older and stronger, and this time it was not that traumatic. In fact, it won't be long before I can talk about what all happened as a funny story. I will continue to spend my time here, taking good care of my store with my employees and my customers. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
When had 6 left to live, I was ready to marry him, but...
It's 2 a.m. in the middle of the night. My phone beeps and glows. Babe, I can't live without you. Hey, it's dark in front of me. My heart is in pain. Am I screwed up already? Hey, I'm in the other world now. The constant WhatsApp notifications and scary messages. I was dismayed that the other world was within range of my phone. I was also disgusted with myself for dating such a man. Hi, I'm Jenny. I've been longing for a job since I was a little girl. I am 27 years old, working hard every day. My friends are starting to get married here and there, but I still enjoy spending time and money for myself. I have a boyfriend, George, whom I have been dating for a year. We have been friends for a long time at our university. I was surprised when he suddenly confessed his feelings for me last year. But he is refreshing and has a sincere personality, so I accepted it willingly. I gladly accepted. He must know that I am a workaholic. I was hoping that he would support me to work hard. However, this man was the type who would change once we become lovers. One Wednesday, I was dragging my exhausted body after a hard day's work. I boarded the train on the opposite platform from my house. I headed for his apartment. As soon as I rang the intercom, he opened the door with a rush.
Jenny, you're late. I missed you.
I lightly push aside the 27-year-old man who tries to mimic crying at the doorway and enter the room. I told you, I was going to be late due to a meeting today.
I miss you, you know?
Yes.
Jenny, that was cold. You used to be so nice to me.
Really? I brush off his dissatisfied expression as he puffs out his cheeks. I heat up the half-price sticker lunchbox I bought at the supermarket in the microwave. Although he came home first and called me over, he doesn't even make me a cup of tea. Listening to him babbling on and on, I ate my meal, put the garbage away in a plastic bag, and got up.
What? You're leaving already?
I have work tomorrow.
Oh, I'll miss you. Why don't you just stay?
It's a long way from work. I'll come visit you again this weekend.
Huh?
I almost let out a sigh at the man pouting his lips. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. It's all he keeps saying. I mean, I miss you too, because you insist on seeing me. I came to his apartment in the middle of the week in the opposite direction from my own house. He doesn't even know how I feel, and he stares up at me with staring eyes. And then he says the usual line.
I know. We should get married soon and live together, don't you think?
Good night. I said a quick goodbye to him and covered his lines. I left the room as if to run away. As a friend, he was honest and straightforward. But as soon as we became lovers, he turned into a spoiled, dependent type. Daily, good morning, I'm on my lunch break with a picture of his meal. I'm back home. Message is a matter of course. At bedtime, I'm lonely to go to bed alone. He expects me to call him until he falls asleep. On weekends, of course, he is all over me. And when I try to go home on Sunday night, he stops me with crying. I can understand if we are just getting to know each other. Does he really love me that much? Some woman might be like, oh my god, he loves me so much. But I went out with him in the first place because I thought he was easygoing. I had no way of knowing that he would be so attached to me at all hours of the day. And it had been like this for the entire year we had been dating. Furthermore, while I was staying at his apartment, he forced me to do all the housework. In fact, he doesn't even vacuum on weekdays because I do it on weekends. The garbage from his lunch boxes and cup noodles that he would have eaten for dinner, the trash are piled up in the sink for the whole week. He puts all this on me, leaning on me like that, which made me exhausted both physically and mentally. While he could sense my exhaustion and frustration, he has no idea what's wrong with him, just because he was lonely, and just because he wants to hold on to me. He says, "Let's get married," right off the hook. Recently, he asked me, if we have a baby, can we be together forever? He started to say such a disturbing thing. A child with him is outrageous. This man is like a big baby. I've known him as a friend for a long time, so I have sentimental feelings for him. We have a lot of mutual acquaintances, so it's a little awkward to break up with him. Moreover, his outward appearance is fresh and good-looking, so people like him. If I make a bad move, I might become the bad guy and people might not like me. Still, I can't think of marrying him because I can't stand him. I began to think seriously about breaking up with him. One day out of the blue, I received a message from him saying,
I have something important to tell you.
"Is he seriously going to propose to me? Or did he finally run out of love with me, the cold, workaholic person I am?" I feel bad that I hope it's the latter. Depending on what he said, I decided to break up with him and arranged to meet with him. The day of our agreement, at the coffee shop where we were meeting, what came out of his mouth were unexpected words.
I have cancer.
What? I was stunned by what I had not imagined at all. Is it bad? When I asked him fearfully, he nodded his head while trembling.
If I have an operation, it might be cured. But if it fails, I will probably have 6 months remaining.
Oh no. The word life remaining made the blood in my head drop suddenly. I don't know what to say to him. He smiled brightly at me as if he feared for me.
I'm sorry. You're busy and I have to talk to you about this.
Don't worry about me. I'm just worried about you.
Thank you. You're really kind.
That's not true. No, that's not true at all. Because I've been thinking about breaking up with you because your love was too heavy for me, without even noticing that you were sick. He holds my hand with a serious face.
I'm such a pathetic person, but will you support me? Even the doctors have said it. He says that if I have hope to live, I might be able to overcome this. You are the most important person in the world to me.
George.
When I get better, will you marry me?
What?
You don't have to answer me right now. I'll wait for your answer.
With that, he patted my head and left the restaurant before I could. I was left with the words "the rest of my life" and "marriage." I couldn't get up. For the next half month, all I could think about was him. I thought I was having such a bad time that I wanted to break up with him. I only remembered the good times. If he only had a few days left to live, I want to support him until the end. I want to do what I can if my existence is the source of life for him. But when he asks me to marry him, I hesitate. Even if he sensed it, would I be able to spend the rest of my life with him? Is that what I want for my life? I cry every day with anxiety, sadness, and hesitation. I was unable to come up with an answer. At that time, I happened to run into his mother at the train station. He used to take me to his parents' house often, so I knew his mother well.
"Oh, Jenny, it's been a while."
"Hi, ma'am." Seeing her talking to me with a nice, friendly smile, I felt a squeeze in my chest. If her son goes ahead of her, such smile will fade away. I felt sick to my stomach. And with that momentum, I bowed deeply to his mother. "Ma'am, please let me marry George."
"What?"
She rolled her eyes. Of course, if someone suddenly asks you to let her marry your son in front of a train station, you can't help but be puzzled. She could not help but be perplexed. So I said my thoughts as best as I could. Even if George has only 6 months left to live, I want to support him as his wife until the end.
"What?"
I will study about the disease and do my best to be useful, so...
Oh, wait a minute. What are you talking about?
What?
What do you mean George has only 6 months to live?
What? What? It was my turn to open my eyes at her words. Confused, I told her what he had told me about his illness. She sighed deeply, holding her head.
I'm sorry, Jenny. That's just his crazy story.
Huh?
He's been trying to get people's attention for a long time, making exaggerated pleas for something that wasn't even a serious illness. Even though he's not even very sick, he's always used a fake illness. I can't believe he still does that now that he's grown up.
No way, but
the fact that I don't know about George's illness is proof of that. There's no way he wouldn't have told us, given his personality.
What? No way. Then what's the point of me crying for the past half months?
Jenny.
She has just exposed her son's lie. She drops her gaze apologetically. His illness and 6 months to live are all lies. Probably a way to get my attention and get me to marry him. Anger welled up in my head as I realized the situation. I had cried out in distress, and I had offered to marry him with a determination to devote my life to him. All of it was to satisfy that man's selfish desires. Disgusting. 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 Of course, there was no way I would marry such a scumbag. Any remaining feelings I had for him were completely gone. I resolved to cut him off mercilessly, but there was still a chance that he would make me look bad. So I asked his mother to keep quiet about his lies and to enlist the cooperation of those around him. A week later, I visited him at his apartment.
Jenny, I'm so glad you came.
He greets me with a weak smile and voice. I'm already sick of just seeing that face that has won me over with its auspiciousness. In my mind, I'm doing him a favor. He is smirking at me for accepting his proposal, but that charade and our relationship will end today.
You look better than I thought you would.
He froze when he saw the big guy who had just popped up from next to me.
Tom? Oh, what are you doing here? That's my line. I told you to come to me first when you get sick, didn't I?
Tom, me, and George went to school together. He has a lot of willpower in his family. He himself is a firefighter who wants to use his muscles to his advantage.
I'm glad she asked for my advice. I took full advantage of my connections and asked her to see me at the university hospital where my dad is. I asked that they see you as a second opinion. Let's go there now. Ugh.
Leaving Tom to deal with the sudden turn of events, I left the room. Let's hold out hope until the end. I'll support you too.
Well, how about the marriage then? Let's go. No, I'm fine. Don't be afraid, you're a jerk to be shy to me. Oh no, that's not what I meant.
George was squirming and resisting. But he was no match for Tom's straightforward personality, energy, and strength. He was taken to the hospital to be tested for a cancer that never existed. The test results were, of course, healthy. Normally, I would have hugged him with tears in my eyes and said, "I'm so happy for you." This time, however, things were different. The hospital he went to had misdiagnosed his condition. When the doctor asked him for the name of the hospital, there was no way he could answer the question. Tom easily found out his lie. Of course, he had to force Tom's father in the hospital to make arrangements for him to see a doctor. Tom, who had arranged the medical examination, was furious. I got Tom a viewpoint and witness, and bullishly accused him of lying. After being pursued by me and Tom, he opened up and said what I expected him to say.
Because Jenny won't marry me.
He answers like a spoiled child. Tom, who knew only the surface of his health and well-being, opened his mouth. I tugged at him and told him, "Let's break up now. I absolutely detest to be married to you."
Why? It's just a cute little lie. When I told you I didn't have long to live, you loved me so much that you decided to marry me. And now that I'm alive and well, you should be relieved.
The only reason I bothered to consider marrying you was because I felt sorry for you and your family. And even then, I was lost in that stupid lie. It's more like a downside. I have nothing but disgust for you.
No, you don't.
You keep coddling me, and to top it all off, you tell lies that are so appalling. How could I ever want to be married to someone like you? I said in a sub-zero voice, and he finally seemed to understand the situation. Then he burst into tears and cried out,
No, 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 no. I refuse to even break up with you, Jenny. Wah!
The big man was doing everything he could to get out of his misery. Tom, the big muscular guy, is backing away. I was a little relieved to see that this was still a bizarre sight. I pushed Tom off his back, unable to take my eyes off the strange man, and we walk out of the apartment. George, noticing that I was not at all distracted, rushes over to me.
Wait, Jenny. See, I can't live without you.
That's another lie, right?
No, it's not.
Once you tell a flat-out lie, you'll never be trusted again. Goodbye.
Wah!
I left George bawling like a howling wolf. I closed the door to his apartment. Thus, I had finally parted with the man who looked like a baby crying old man. Tom, who had cooperated with me, he explained in detail to the people around me why I had broken up with George. Most of my friends began to show up for me. Some of my friends tilted their heads and said, "That's enough lying." I showed them a video I had secretly saved of him being a spoiled brat, and they shut up. One of them was a female friend of George's. She's not a bad person, but she is very light-mouthed. She spread the facts as they were within her small industry. He was the guy who forced her to marry him by falsely claiming he only had 6 months to live. He lost credibility as a member of society and as a human being. He was a good-looking guy on the outside, hence the gap between the two. People seemed to have been turned off by him. Of course, George is not convinced otherwise. Immediately after our breakup, he sent me messages every day to the point that my phone was about to go flat. From poems begging me to come back, to the kind of thing that a child would report to his mother about the day's events. I can get through those, though. The most exhausting are the lines from the other side of the world that come in the middle of the night. Mostly it's because I can't live in a world without Jenny. Jenny, I can't breathe. Ah, it's dark in front of me. Help me, Jenny. It seems I've come to the other side. This is how it ends. I'm a little moved by the possibility. However, the last line made me lose my mind. And then, he who should have gone to the other world. The next day, he sends me a normal message as usual. It's crazy, even insane. Once, "I am George's mother" came from his message. "My son is very sick and waiting for you, Jenny, in the hospital room." I received a message saying, "I'm sorry, I took the plunge and contacted his real mother." And when his mother visited his room, he was lying on his bed watching TV and laughing. After that, he told me that he would never lie to me again. So, I got a message from him asking me not to tell his parents. Apparently, he was stiffed by his strict father. I think blocking his contacts will solve the problem. But it is not such an easy problem. I am afraid that if I cut off contact with him, he will retaliate in a panic. It is difficult to find the right timing. Of course, after I broke up with him, I did not go home. I have been staying at a friend's house. I can't stay there for long, though. It was right around that time that the company was talking about launching a new messenger. I took the initiative and raised my hand to take the case. I packed up my apartment and got on the train to the new location. I blocked his contact number. Thus, I was able to disassociate myself from that foolish and pathetic man. 5 years later, I am now 33 years old and still working as hard as ever. But on my left right finger is a platinum ring. A ring which I didn't have back then. Actually, 6 months ago, I got married to a colleague from my office. My husband was attracted to the way I seemed to enjoy my work. He promised to support me, so that I could continue working after marriage. We both share the household chores, so there are no major burden that interferes with my work. We have also decided to work together to raise our children. Friends who work with George occasionally report his dire situation. He has lost his credibility and his work is not going well. Apparently, even when he gets a new girlfriend, he is quickly dumped. Even at 27, he's in pain, but he's now a 33-year-old man. It would be an even worse sight if a 33-year-old guy was turning into a baby. And he seems to be constantly looking for me, saying,
I'm sure Jenny will return.
And he seems to be looking for me. And he's saying Jenny is just being mean. He says that someone should tell me that George is not mad at me and to come home. And apparently he's also having horrible delusions of being a good guy. Of course, there is no way my friends will help him with that. Instead, they get angry and just leave him on his own. I am so glad that I kept the people around me on my side. And he is a very lonely person. He must be very much distressed by his loneliness. Relationships between lovers and married couples that only depend on one person for support will be exhausted and will fail. So he closes his eyes to the unpleasant aspects of the relationship. I'm so glad I wasn't carried away. I am very glad that I did not decide to get married. I met my husband, who's the most understanding and supportive person. I was able to have a family while continuing to do the work I love. I truly feel happy from the bottom of my heart.
My in-laws disrespects me and forces me to take care of their grandchild and breaks into my house. As a result,
Maya, you must be free as always, right? My mother-in-law and sister-in-law always push the care of their grandchild onto me without considering our plans, and they just go out. I felt anger building up inside me, and I was left behind at home. How selfish can these people be? I had plans to meet with a friend for the first time in a while. It's terrible that they look down on me just because I'm a housewife. I have to make sure they never take advantage of me again. My name is Maya. I met Hank through my best friend Laura, and we got married 2 years ago. I quit my job and now I'm a full-time housewife. But we don't have children yet. We've just moved into a new house a few months ago, and we are living peacefully. I love cooking and have been making elaborate dishes almost every day since we moved in. Meeting with Laura and her husband for a delicious meal and good drinks is our weekend delight. But at the time, I didn't realize that the hand of evil that would threaten our peaceful life was approaching.
It seems that my parents are getting a divorce.
One day, Hank told me with a downcast look. I had heard that they were not on good terms, but I didn't expect them to get divorced. My mother-in-law is a housewife, but she hardly does any housework, and mostly orders takeouts or buys ready-made food. And she lives a selfish life of buying whatever she wants without resistance. And she lives a selfish life of buying whatever she wants without restraint. Even after my father-in-law retired, my mother-in-law's spending habits did not change. And despite my father-in-law's warnings to control her spending for the future, she never listened. In the end, my father-in-law got tired of it and filed for divorce. The family home was put up for sale, and my father-in-law moved far away. But it seems that my mother-in-law didn't want to leave her familiar surroundings and rented an apartment near her family home. A few weeks after the divorce, my sister-in-law also got divorced. According to the story, she had been cheating on her husband, and when he found out about it, he asked for a divorce. As a result, she moved in with her mother, with her daughter Sonia, who will soon be 3 years old. Unfortunately, these two disasters would end up affecting me.
Maya, can you come to my house now?
I was called out by my mother-in-law after a long time. And without suspecting anything, I headed to her apartment. But that was a mistake.
Oh, you finally came.
You know, my back has been hurting for a while now.
can you do the laundry, cleaning, and also prepare lunch and dinner? Just as I was surprised by my mother-in-law's sudden request, my sister-in-law Dixie, who lives with her, said this. I also work, so can you take care of my daughter Sonia too? And can you come a little earlier? Starting from tomorrow? Ignoring me, my sister-in-law quickly left. My mother-in-law continued to lie on the couch watching TV. I couldn't quite digest the situation and ended up taking care of my niece and fulfilling my mother-in-law's demands. My sister-in-law came back after 6 p.m. that night. I was completely exhausted by the sudden role assignment to me that day. My sister-in-law had said to come a little earlier from tomorrow, but I never imagined if these days would continue every day from now on. A big sigh escaped me due to my depression. Maya, what's wrong? You look tired. Hank, my husband who came back from work, peered into my face and asked me worriedly. When I told him about today's events, he seemed surprised and apologized to me. What? What are they thinking? Yeah, I never thought they would ask me to do something like this. I thought about contacting you, but I didn't want to disturb your work. And also, I had no time to look at my phone because I was with Sonia. I see. Anyway, I'll talk to Mom and Dixie about this, okay? I felt relieved when Hank said that. I thought I could return to my usual life from tomorrow, and my depression quickly lifted. However, when I got out of the bath, Hank's face looked gloomy. I have a bad feeling about this. He noticed me and lowered his head apologetically. I called Mom, but she ended up begging and crying on the phone, and Dixie started to get angry, saying she's struggling with work and raising Sonia. I could guess where this was going. Hank continued. So, Maya, I'm really sorry to ask, but can you take care of Sonia until they find a daycare for her? I could see the fatigue on Hank's face. Seeing him like that, I felt like I had no choice but to help him. I decided to accept the offer. For the next few months, I continued to go to my mother-in-law's house. My sister-in-law would drop Sonia off without a care in the world. And my mother-in-law seemed as healthy as ever, making me wonder if her back was really hurting in the first place. What I hated the most was how they looked down on me as a stay-at-home wife. The only comfort I had was that Sonia had grown attached to me. One day, Hank was invited by the company president to play golf, and we had plans to have dinner with Lola and her husband. I was excited to buy ingredients to cook a nice meal for the weekend with good friends. When I returned home, to my surprise, my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and Sonia were waiting at the entrance. Hey Maya, where have you been? You kept us waiting for so long. My sister-in-law shouted at me as soon as she saw me. What's going on? I was surprised by their sudden visit, especially since it was a holiday, and my husband was out. It seemed like they had come to our house when he wasn't around. Just open the door already. My mother-in-law rushed me and entered the house without permission. Then my sister-in-law spoke up. We were planning to enjoy the holiday today. You're probably free, right, Maya? I have something to do and Mom is having lunch with her friends. So we're leaving Sonia in your care, okay? After finishing some snacks, they left Sonia with me and went out. Taking care of Sonia while preparing dinner would be difficult. I reluctantly canceled my plan with Lola and felt sad and angry while cleaning up the ingredients I had bought. Why were they so selfish? Ever since I started going to my in-laws' house, my household chores doubled. taking care of the child also doubled my physical strength. On weekends, I was often too tired to keep my promise with Lola. Despite all this, I had finally arranged to meet Lola after several months. But now this had happened. I couldn't calm down my irritation, but I managed to take care of Sonia somehow. When Hank returned in the evening, he was surprised to see Sonia.
I'm home. Huh. Why is Sonia here?
Shh! She just fell asleep, so be quiet. Hank put his hands over his mouth and apologized quietly. You know, when I came back from shopping, your mom and sister were waiting for me at the entrance. And they left and abandoned Sonia here. I was planning to cook a lot today since Laura and her husband were coming over, but I had to cancel on them. I was looking forward to it. Such a bummer. I vented my anger to him, and Hank also exploded with anger.
The director of the nursery was at the golf club today, you know?
Huh. Wasn't your sister making a fuss because she got rejected from the nursery?
Yeah. But the nursery is now admitting children, and they haven't rejected anyone in the past few months.
What does that mean?
It means that Dixie never even applied to the nursery. We were completely fooled.
In the end, the mother-in-law and sister-in-law returned after 7 p.m. Sonia couldn't help but fall asleep on the sofa.
What are you guys doing until this late? We agreed to help take care of Sonia only on weekdays until the nursery was arranged. Because Mom, you said you couldn't take care of her because your back pain. And yet, you were pushing Sonia onto us even on weekends. What are you thinking?
The usually gentle Hank was angry, so they were clearly intimidated.
Oh, Hank, you back?
Hank? This is just a misunderstanding. Maya said she would take care of Sonia, so I never said anything like that. I shouted out without hesitation, and Hank continued.
Dixie, fill out this application right here and now.
The documents Hank took out were for the entrance procedures of the nursery. It seemed like my sister-in-law finally realized that everything was exposed in his angry gaze. She snapped and started to get angry, her face turning bright red. Maya doesn't have anything else to do, so it's fine for her to take care of her niece. It's not fair that she lives comfortably in a house as a full-time housewife.
Huh. So this is her true nature,
I thought to myself. My sister-in-law trembled, either because she was embarrassed that our wrongdoing was exposed, or because she was too jealous of me. Hank was about to get angry again with her response.
If you were going to be that irresponsible, then I would cut ties with you.
Unexpectedly, it was my mother-in-law who intervened to mediate. Now, let's listen to what Hank has to say. We're also at fault, weren't we? Hank responded mercilessly with a loud voice to his mother.
Mom, you're really lying about your back pain, aren't you? You seem to have enough energy to move around. So why don't you work a little?
My mother-in-law scolded, shrugged her shoulders, and next to her, my sister-in-law, who had given up, began writing the documents that Hank had given her. Here, I filled it out. Happy? She said, slamming the finished documents on the desk, and they all left. Soon after, it was decided that my niece would start attending the nursery the following month. Thanks to that, I was able to return to my normal daily life and have dinner with Laura and her husband. It was around that time that my husband's transfer to Seattle came up suddenly. I was lost in thought, thinking that it was going to be busy with the move to Seattle. 3 months later, I received a late-night phone call, and it was my sister-in-law on a video call. I was confused when I saw the background on the screen. My sister-in-law Dixie greeted me with a loud, annoying voice. Hey, Maya, can you come back home soon? I still couldn't quite understand what was happening. And then, there was a loud crash on the other end of the line. Oops, sorry about that. Looks like Sonia broke a vase in the living room. But since it was your precious niece, you'll forgive her, won't you? And she held up the broken vase to show it to the screen. Wait, are you guys really in that house right now? Yeah. It's been a while since we last visited. I mean, how did you get into the house? Well, I borrowed the key and made a spear last time I was here. I couldn't believe that they had gone to such length. I blamed myself for not realizing that my keys had been stolen. It's been a while since we last visited your house, and it seems like Sonia's getting too excited. Come to think of it, we didn't have this vase before, did we? Oh, is it new? I'm sorry she broke it so soon. As she apologized, it was evident that she didn't feel remorseful at all. Please, leave. Right now. Well, I can't do that. After all, we came here to get some money from you. Money? I exclaimed in surprise at my sister-in-law's words. If Sonia asked you for money, you wouldn't be able to refuse, right? At that moment, Sonia appeared on the screen. I could see my mother-in-law, who was standing next to her, whispering, say it as we rehearsed, in a low voice. Auntie Maya, Sonia wants an allowance. Sonia looked at me with tears in her eyes, and she muttered in a barely audible voice. Seeing her like that, my fist trembled with anger. How could they ask a small child for money like this? My sister-in-law provocatively called out to me again. See? This is what Sonia is saying. So please give us some money. By the way, where are you right now? Hurry up and come back. I'm in Seattle. What? Seattle? Yes, so I can't lend you any money. Both my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law burst out laughing at my words. What a joke! That's not funny at all. If you don't want to give us money, how about giving us some of these Louis Vuitton bags you have stored in your closet? As she said that, my sister-in-law showed me the closet. I shouted out immediately. No! Absolutely do not touch them! Those aren't my stuff. However, my advice fell on deaf ears as they continued to search for brand name goods one after another. And if it wasn't yours, then whose was it? You think I'd be fooled by such a lie? No, it's all mine. Huh? Who are you? Standing there was Lola. The truth is, my husband and I had moved to Seattle as planned due to his transfer. We kept it a secret from my in-laws to avoid any complications. During our relocation, Laura's family agreed to live in that house, but the key exchange didn't happen due to the sudden move. I asked Hank to contact Lola and told her to call the police right away. After talking to my husband, Lola told my mother-in-law and sister-in-law the following. The police will be here soon. We will sue you for illegal entry and property damage. Their faces turned pale instantly. Maya, what does this mean? You're lying about the police, right? No, not lying. I warned you not to touch it because it's not mine. My mother-in-law opened her eyes wide and started blaming my sister-in-law instead. It's all your fault, Dixie. I never intended for this to happen. Hey, Mom. You were the one to come up with the idea of asking for money. I never thought of that myself. It's all your fault. As an ugly argument began, Hank took my phone from me. Enough already. Shame on you both. You shamelessly make a young child beg for money. How could you do something so despicable? I'm cutting ties with you. Got it? Wait, Hank! Hold on a sec. As my mother-in-law pleaded for mercy, he ignored her and handed me the phone. Then Sonia spoke up, trembling. Auntie Maya, I'm sorry. I don't need allowance, so please don't hate me. Her tearful confession left me with a heavy heart. I could never forgive them for causing such distress to an innocent child. Sonia, we won't hate you. You don't have to worry about that. I spoke in a gentle voice to comfort her. What you did is not forgivable. We have no intention of helping you in any way. As Hank said, we'll be cutting ties with you. Goodbye. Afterward, the police arrived and arrested the two of them. Sonia was taken into protective custody and handed over to her father. I planned to visiting her when I returned home. My sister-in-law and mother-in-law were left with a large debt due to the compensation they had to pay for their wrongdoing, as well as unpaid rent and credit card bills. After taken in by the police, they both worked tirelessly from morning until night. Meanwhile, Hank's excellent work at the company led to her decision to stay in Seattle permanently. I pursued my passion for cooking and opened a small restaurant. Lola and her husband plan to visit us during the grand opening. I'm looking forward to a new life and reuniting with my best friends.
When I went to my in-laws' house to report my pregnancy, they locked me in a doghouse with a piece of bread.
I always thought I was a privileged person. I had a kind husband and in-laws who cared for me as if I were their own daughter. And when I had the child of my dreams, I knew that she would be loved by everyone. I didn't doubt anything, but...
What have you done? Do you know what you've done? Don't give birth to that child.
As soon as I told my mother-in-law, Mary, that I was pregnant, she looked like a young man and locked me in the doghouse in the yard. How could this happen? When I found out the truth and who was behind it, I couldn't stop shaking all over. My name is Amelia. I am a 32-year-old office worker. I met my husband Luke through a friend, and we have been married for 2 years. Luke is a gentle man, and I feel safe and relaxed with him. He is very protective of his parents. We often went to see them together to show them how well we were doing. His parents are also peaceful people. They loved me as if I were their own daughter. I never thought that I would be bullied by them, until I got pregnant. After we got married, I finally had the baby I had always wanted. When I told Luke, he was happy with tears in his eyes.
I'll have to let Mom and Dad know. They'll be so happy.
I thought it was a little too early to tell them. But then I thought that I might get sick or something and might need them to help me. Luke and I visited them on the weekend. We enjoyed dinner as usual. Luke told his parents that I was pregnant when after dinner. Mary seemed to have noticed that I didn't drink alcohol.
I knew it. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you, Amelia. You need to take care of your body now.
She was so happy. My father-in-law, Kevin, who was sitting next to her, also looked surprised.
I am surprised. You're pregnant.
It seemed like he didn't know what to say. I was so relieved, and we decided to stay at their house for the rest of the day. When I returned to the living room after taking a bath, the room that had been lively just a few minutes ago was quiet as if there was a funeral. What? What's going on? Did they get news of someone's misfortune? Thank you for letting me take a bath. Is something wrong? I asked fearfully, and Mary, who's normally kind, made a face like an ogre and glared at me. "How dare you? Do you know what you've done? Don't give birth to a child like that." She grabbed me by the arm and opened the window to the garden. We were both barefoot as I was led out into the garden. The gravel in the garden stung my feet and it hurt so much. "Wait a minute, Mary. What are you talking about? You're hurting me." I screamed, but she ignored me.
"This place is good enough for a dirty woman like you."
She said that and locked me up in a room that was filled with the smell of dog. It was the doghouse of Simba, the golden retriever who died 6 months ago. Kevin, who was very good with his hands, built it himself. It was such a big doghouse. Kevin had installed an air conditioner for Simba. It was spacious enough to accommodate more than one person. But there are no windows, only a door, and the lock is only on the outside. "Please open it! Luke! Luke, I know you're in there. Get me out of here and help me!" My voice must have reached him. I heard his voice from close by.
Amelia, not going to forgive you. I'm leaving. Cool your head there.
I couldn't stop crying at these unbelievable words from him. Just a few moments ago, we were all laughing and talking about the birth of our unborn child. What is this? What did I do? After a while, I heard a car leaving. Luke had really left. When I strained my ears, I could hear Mary yelling from inside the house, though I couldn't understand what she was saying. I also heard Kevin's voice trying to calm her down. I didn't sleep a wink that day and spent the rest of the night crying in the doghouse. The next morning, when I was in a daze from lack of sleep, the door opened. I saw Mary standing there, staring at me, just as she had yesterday.
"Do you need to go to the bathroom?"
She asked me. "Mary, please, this is some kind of a misunderstanding. Please let me out of here, we need to talk." I know she can hear me, but she put the plate she was holding roughly on the floor, locked the door silently, and went away again. I looked closely at the plate and found one piece of bread on the silver plate that Simba used to use. Even though the plate has been cleaned up after Simba's death, it's not easy to get rid of the smell. I don't dislike dogs, but I couldn't bring myself to eat in this space, so I didn't touch it. Periodically, Mary would appear and ask me from outside if I need to go to the bathroom. When I tried to talk to her, she didn't seem to want to talk to me and quickly went inside the house. Lunch and dinner also came on Simba's plate, just like in the morning. I knew I had to nourish my baby. I ate my dinner with my hand where it didn't touch the plate. I was miserable and sad and made me cry again. I went outside for the first time since I was locked in the house to use the bathroom at night. I noticed that Luke's car was there. "Luke is here?" I asked Mary.
"Luke is a poor little boy because he married a woman like you."
Mary's words still made no sense to me, but I hurried into the house.
"Don't come inside with your dirty feet!"
Mary shouted from behind, but I didn't care. I went into the living room and found Luke and Kevin. "Luke, thank God. Can we go home now?" I said that to him, but he remained silent. "Kevin, please tell Mary to stop doing this to me. Please let me go home, I beg you." Then Kevin looked a little annoyed and said,
I'm sorry, Amelia. When Mary becomes like that, there's nothing I can do to stop her. It's almost over, so just bear with it until then.
And then Luke said,
Get back in the shed. You're filthy, you know that?
He suddenly yelled out. He grabbed me by the arm and forced me to go to the bathroom. When I got out, he pulled my arm hard again and took me to the shed.
Don't worry, I called your office and told them you were sick and would be out of work for a while.
Frankly, I didn't care about that. This whole family is crazy. All I could think about was how to get out of here.
You keep screaming so loud.
I heard the neighbors yelling from somewhere. Mary came out to the yard.
That's enough. Be quiet.
She yelled at me. That's my line. I had to fight back.
It's your fault. You betrayed our family. I treated you so well. You're terrible.
I could hear Mary sobbing outside, but I was the one who wanted to cry. The next morning, she glared at me again and then put the plate on the floor with a mighty thud. More hungry than sick, I picked up a piece of bread and bit it into it with all my might. This is for my baby. I noticed something at the bottom of the plate. Is this a credit card? It was indeed a credit card. It was Kevin's credit card with a sticky note on the back. He must have slipped it under the bread. Order something with this, the sticky note said. Order something? Huh. Kevin was a crafty man, but a bit stupid. Mary used to make fun of him and tell me how cute he was. Luke took my phone home with him, along with my bag. What am I supposed to do with one card like this? In addition, there was no way I could use a card in my father-in-law's name. Then, around noon, an unexpected visitor showed up. I heard Mary's voice arguing with someone. Is someone there? I heard an unfamiliar voice. I quickly responded. I'm here! Please help me! When the door opened, there was an unfamiliar man standing there. I knew there was someone in here. Are you guys crazy? He glared at Mary and Kevin, who were standing behind him. The man was the man who lived across the street. He had often heard yelling and arguing in the yard. He was worried and came to see what was going on. I was taken straight to the man's house, and his wife, who was at home, said to me, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. She hugged me. I smell so bad. I started to cry. Mary and Kevin didn't come after me. I borrowed a phone and asked my mother to pick me up. And by the way, I don't have a father. He died in an accident before I could remember. When I told my mom what had happened, she was very angry. When she came to pick me up, she was about to yell at my in-laws. I didn't want anything to happen to my mom, so we chose to leave immediately. I went straight to the police, but I had no proof. The couple across the street said they would testify at any time, but who knows. I left the police station and went to the lawyer's office. I wanted to divorce that man right away. But a few days later, I couldn't believe my ears when I heard from the lawyer. What? Me? Why should I pay alimony? No way, I thought. But the lawyer told me that this case was caused by my cheating in the first place. He also said that they only wanted to discuss it directly with me and that they had proof. Of course, I never cheated on Luke. We accepted the offer. We set up a meeting with a lawyer. On the day of the meeting, Mary and Luke were staring at me. Kevin looked at me with concern. I hear I'm having an affair. With whom in the world? Mary's face turned bright red at my words.
I know you're messing with my husband.
Her voice was loud enough to echo through the room, but the content of it startled me. What? Luke continued, spreading the pictures all over the desk.
Look at this. It's you and my dad, no matter how you look at it.
My mom and I picked up one photo at a time and looked at it. Sure, the faces are mine and Kevin's, but the bodies belong to different people. Some of the photos clearly show the wrong height difference. And then Luke took out his phone and started playing some kind of sound.
I love you, Kevin.
It was unmistakably my voice, but I don't remember saying a word about it. Luke and Mary looked so proud of themselves, but I really thought they were idiots. Then my lawyer said,
This is a composite photo, isn't it? Also, isn't the audio also processed and made up? I'm sure we'll find out as soon as we get it to the lab. Well, I think anyone would find it odd even if we didn't.
When I pointed out the height difference, which even I noticed, the color of Luke and Mary's faces began to deteriorate a little. At the same time, they turned their attention to someone else.
Dad, what's going on? You're telling me that these pictures and the audio you gave me were all a lie? And that story about my baby's father being you was a lie too?
Luke's voice rang out in impatience, and Kevin turned his head to the side.
I love Amelia, Kevin said.
These unexpected words gave me goosebumps. It turns out that after I went to the bathroom that day, Kevin brought these pictures from his room and started to tell Luke and Mary, actually, Amelia and I are in love. Kevin usually doesn't joke about stuff. So Luke and Mary believed it completely. By the way, both the pictures and the sound were made by Kevin. When I heard that he usually used them for his personal use, I couldn't stop shaking on the spot. As a result, Luke left me and went home because he didn't want to see me. Kevin wanted to divorce Mary and be with me. Mary did not want to divorce him. While I was locked in the doghouse, Kevin and Mary talked about divorce all the time. So when you said it would be over soon, I blurted out,
I mean, Mary and I are getting divorced soon. Of course, you and Luke are splitting up, right? You always smile at me and I really love you. I want us to be together.
I couldn't look directly at him. He was too creepy. Then my mom, who was sitting next to me, said, Hey, you old guy, I can't listen to you anymore. Do you realize how sickening you sound? Because she smiled at you? Huh? Of course she smiles at you because you're her husband's father. And you're just misunderstanding, you idiot. Kevin's face turned bright red after hearing her words. And you two, you guys are just as guilty for inflicting a lifetime of trauma on my daughter. Neither I nor Amelia will ever forgive you. My mom glared at them with all the hatred she could muster. Luke and Mary were completely disheartened and made me an unbelievable proposal.
Amelia, I'm really sorry about what happened. Mom and I were so careless. Let's just forget all these and we'll start over, okay? I mean, a child needs a father, right?
I don't know what kind of nerve he has. He must be kidding me.
Yes, that's right. A child without a father is pitiful. A child needs both a father and a mother. Amelia, I'm really sorry that I lost my temper too. Can you forgive me? I mean, how could Amelia have feelings for an old guy like you? Here, you apologize to her too.
Mary strongly urged Kevin to apologize to me after she looked at me with a goofy look on her face. That made me feel sick and nauseous. I got up from my seat and ran to the bathroom. Morning sickness? You don't want to be in a family like that, do you? I'm going to do my best from now on. I lightly rubbed my stomach and slapped both cheeks to cheer myself up. Sorry to keep you waiting. I won't change my mind. I'm divorcing you. It's the only way. And Kevin, I have no memory of my father. I loved you like a father, but no more, no less. Now I never want to see your face again. Kevin looked down in disappointment, and I talked calmly. Luke, don't you think this child would be more pitiful with a father like you? I feel so bad for her, thinking about what she might have seen from my belly. Mary, do you feel sorry for a child who doesn't have a father? That's how you thought about me all this time? It's none of your business. I have such a strong and dependable mother. I don't know if they had any words to reply, but they all became completely silent. After that, we talked about child support and property division, and everything went in my favor. Mary revealed her true nature.
Of course, we have custody of the child, don't we? We're financially well off, and I'll take responsibility and raise the child.
What she said didn't make any sense, so I ignored her. There's no way Luke can get custody of the child. They are forgetting the most important thing. After that, I took a leave of absence from my job to think only about my child. I moved back to my parents' house. It was not long after that I heard that my ex-family-in-law had been taken to the police. When the police asked me what had happened, I remembered something. Mary and Kevin were dog lovers and were so worried about Simba that they kept security cameras in their yard and the shed. I told the police about it, and when the police visited their house, they told me that the footage was perfectly preserved. And the couple across the street testified. Mary was blatant in her denial, but Kevin readily confessed to the crime. Luke knew about the confinement, but ignored it, so he was judged to have been involved in the confinement. As a result, my ex-family members were sentenced to prison. They sent me a letter, but I threw it away without reading it, because I will never forgive them, even if I read it. Mary and Luke may have acted that way because of what Kevin had told them, but that doesn't mean I'm going to rebuild my life with a bunch of crazy people who won't listen to me and lock me in a doghouse. I don't think I'll ever be more scared in my life. I went through a lot of hard times, but when I saw my daughter sleeping in my arms, I felt so happy that it didn't matter. According to the law, my daughter was born under my ex-husband's name. I filed a petition with the family court, and my daughter and I were safely given the same surname. By the way, I heard my ex-husband got out of jail first. None of my friends know where he went. He never paid child support. That's how lazy the man was. Whatever the reason was, sooner or later, we might have ended up divorced. I'm just happy that he's gone from my life. My mother holds my daughter Grace in her arms. I could look at her all day. She's so cute. Single mothers are not uncommon these days. You have me, and there are many people in this world. Amelia, you can raise your child in peace. I never see my mom raise her voice like that during our divorce proceedings. I'm so glad she was my mother. I vowed to be a strong mother myself.